As I said, I think that it's time to begin a campaign in the United States and to take down every Confederate statue or monument in this country, just to say enough. Now, I realize, I think her name was Stephanie Rollins, where did it go? I've got so much paper here. Anyway, you know, the mayor of one of these towns, I think it was Baltimore. Yeah, it was Baltimore. Stephanie Rollins is the mayor of Baltimore, and she ordered that signs be put in front of the Confederate monuments, in front of 4 Confederate monuments in Baltimore that say, quote, "These monuments were part of a propaganda campaign of national pro-Confederate organizations to perpetuate the beliefs of white supremacy, to falsify history, and to support segregation and racial intimidation." End of quote. You know, that's the sign that should be in front of the statue if the statue is moved into some museum. But the state should not even fund the museum, right? If some very wealthy Nazi wants to create a museum, you know, like the creationist guys, you know, they created their museum in Tennessee or Kentucky or wherever it was. And, you know, you can go to the creationist museum and see men riding dinosaurs back, you know. And so, you know, if some crazy right-winger with more money than he knows what to do, and there's certainly no shortage of those, wants to create, you know, some museums that other right-wingers can go to and look at these statues, you know, well, then the right-winger wouldn't put this kind of sign in front of it, would it? Unless the city said, okay, we'll sell you the statues for $1 or whatever, or for the cost of removal, but you must put this statue on them, or this you know, sign on them indicating what's going on. But this, and by the way, now Mayor Catherine Pugh, the new mayor of Baltimore, says, screw it. You know, we're not even going to do the signs. We're going to take these things down. So it's like these are memorials to the worst part of American history. And then, you know, then we've got this guy, Congressman Tom Garrett, U.S. Representative Tom Garrett, this by the Roanoke newspaper. I was just checking out the website that Dr. Oh, I've lost my paper. Blazak, thank you, Troy. Dr. Blazak was telling us about, and what a great guy who really knows his topic. And TPM has a story. A father denounces son identified as participant in white supremacist rally. This kid's picture was distributed in the news. He was out there shouting hate, and his father came out and he said, "My name is Pierce Teft, and I am writing to all with regards to my youngest son, Peter Teft, an avowed white nationalist who's been featured in a number of local news stories over the last several months." He wrote this in a letter to the North Dakota, Minnesota news site Inforum. He said, "My son did not learn white nationalist rhetoric at home." And he said, "We have been silent up until now. We now see this was a mistake. It was the silence of good people that allowed the Nazis to flourish the first time around, and it is the silence of good people that is allowing them to flourish now. Peter Teft, my son, is not welcome at our family gatherings any longer. His hateful opinions are bringing hateful rhetoric to his siblings, cousins, nieces, and nephews, as well as his parents. He once joked," this is dad talking about his son, who was one of the fascists at the rally this weekend. He once joked, "The thing about us fascists is, it's not that we don't believe in freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. We'll just throw you in the oven." Pierce Teft said, his son had said to him. "Peter, you will," and then his father says, Peter, to his son Peter, he says, "Peter, you will have to shovel our bodies into the oven too." Peter Teft on Friday posted a photograph of himself in the Confederate monument in Charlottesville. He says, "Nazi is a racial slur against whites." Right. In a Facebook post on Monday, Peter Teft defended the driver who killed this woman. "Fatal crashes happen all the time, and it's clear that this young man's car was being attacked on all sides by a roving mob of Antifa when he slammed the gas pedal and..." Right. Don't even. Right. Pathetic. I don't know how to describe it beyond that. Politically, you ask what we can do. In my opinion, this is all being driven by the Republican Party. It's why you only have a couple of, you got Marco Rubio calling out Trump, right? Saying, hey, point out this is terrorism. Why? Because Marco Rubio wants to run for president. And he hates Donald Trump. Trump called him little and, little Marco and all this kind of stuff. And it's the Republican Party. The Republican Party, since 1968, Richard Nixon started this process of using hate as a weapon. And it's, how are we doing on time, Troy? Then to a soft break. Thank you. So do you have the Lee Atwater clip? Thank you. This is 1980. Lee Atwater, the guy who in 1988 designed the Willie Horton ads to take down Michael Dukakis, who used, which was, black guy gets out of prison, rapes and murders a white girl. Oh my God, runs it on the end. But in 1980, 8 years before, when Lee Atwater was one of the chief strategists for Ronald Reagan, he's meeting with a group of Republican activists, and he's talking about how, in the good old days, we used to use the N-word liberally. And then in the 60s, we started using the word busing because it was a little more acceptable. And then we figured out that, you could say, we just want to cut spending. And all the white people immediately understood that what that meant was, we're going to cut all those social welfare programs for all those lazy black people. Right? Here's Lee Atwater in his own words.
You start out in 1954 by saying, by 1968, you can't say that hurts your backfire, so you say stuff like forced busing, states' rights, and all that stuff. And you're getting so abstract now, you're talking about cutting taxes, and all of these things you're talking about are totally economic things, and the byproduct of them is blacks get hurt worse than whites. And subconsciously, maybe that is part of it. But I'm saying that if it is getting that abstract and that coded, that we're doing away with the racial problem one way or the other. You follow me? Because obviously sitting around saying we want to cut taxes, we want to cut this, and we want is much more abstract than even the busing thing. And a hell of a lot more abstract than,
Right.
So any way you look at it, race is coming on the back burner.
Yeah. In other words, the Republicans don't have to be explicit in shouting out racist language. They can be implicit, and it works just fine for them. And that's exactly what Lee Atwater did. He apologized for it on his deathbed. He died of the same kind of brain cancer that John McCain has right now and that took down Teddy Kennedy. But it's... so in answer to your question, you said, what can we do about it? What you can do about it is get everybody you know registered to vote. And in 2018, get out every Democrat you possibly can. Because this evil is coming out of the Republican Party.